Hello and welcome to my video lecture on PHP and the use of variables. So this is what I want to do. I'm going to start off by creating a new PHP project. So I'm going to select PHP application. I'm going to go next. I'm going to call it PHP Variables. Right? Did I spell that right? Of course not. There's variables. So that's the name of our project. Since it's a PHP project, it's going to put it in the htdocs where the Apache web server is going to expect it to be to compile it. Going to click next. We're going to set it to run on the local web server. This is a perfectly fine URL. We'll click next. I'm not going to use any of the frameworks, and I don't need any composer information. I'm going to click finish. And here we are in our index PHP file. Looks very similar to other PHP files. Actually, it pretty much looks like an HTML file. So right now it is mostly an HTML file with a little bit of PHP text inside of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by creating a PHP section up here at the top. And then I'll end that with the end PHP section. And then here I can add in some comments. Another kind of commenting would be with £. Here we are playing with variables. So as you can see, there are two different ways of putting in comments. I don't need this section in here, but this would be, so you can see this is a PHP section which uses one convention. This is the HTML section of the file which uses a different convention. I'm going to get rid of that since I don't need it. So here PHP variables start off with a $sign. So I've heard them called $string, dollars, strings, whatever. But we can start off with, say, first name as a variable. You don't declare variables in PHP with data types. The value that's being put into the variable is determined when this file gets compiled. So here we can just say first name equals, and then I'm going to use single quotes because that's the more efficient way to store strings. So as you can see, I just hit enter, and inexplicably the line looks like it's a line continuation instead of a new line, and that's because PHP lines of code have to end in a semicolon. Once we do that, it moves us back to the beginning of the line. So here, so that's how you would do a string. Let's do a date. Let's do date of birth, and we could set that equal to a date. Wonder if it's going to take 9/10, or if I'm going to have to do something differently to that. And of course, I forgot to put the semicolon. And then we could put, we can use a number, right? So we can put in age. Remember to put the semicolon in there. We could put in last name. And we could set that equals to Devlin, because that is my last name, if I can remember how to spell it. And again, I forgot my semicolon. So just like that, we have set up some PHP variables. Those variables are being given their data types. So what we're going to do down here is we're going to mess around with those a little bit. So here's our PHP code. So remember now, when we're referencing, when we're using these data types in our HTML, after this HTML file gets compiled, the only thing that's going to be left is going to be our HTML tagging that's going to be sent back to our user's browser. So in this case, we can display the data that we got in those variables. And we can do that in a number of ways. I can use a span element, and I can use PHP to echo out the variable information. So I can echo out whatever there is in first name. And then I can end my span with my end span tag, span element. So basically what that's going to do is the span is going to remain here. The value that gets referred to by this variable is going to stay there, and that's pretty much going to be it. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to run it, and that's all I get in my HTML. So the HTML that actually gets sent back to the browser is the only thing that's in this HTML. So we can use the concatenation operator. There's a bunch of different operators, but here we can use the concatenation operator for last name. And there's our concatenated first name and last name. That's not going to look real pretty when we run that. So now I get Mike Devlin, but there's no space in there. So then we're going to go back here, and we're going to see that we can put in a space and concatenate that. And then we can concatenate that with, there's a great guy. And I guess I shouldn't put an exclamation point after that, really, because that's just the truth, isn't it? So we're going to save that, and we're going to go back to our browser, and here I can just refresh, and there we go. Mike Devlin is a great guy. So that's your introduction on how to use HTML, PHP variables, and then referencing those variables in your PHP code. And now you can start using that in your forms and code today.